The air conditioning unit at Desert Springs Medical had failed at 3:47 p.m. By the time I arrived, the waiting room registered 92 degrees. 2 elderly patients fanned themselves with magazines. The receptionist looked ready to cry. I had the compressor running again by 4:15. Refused the overtime pay Dr. Matthews tried to add. Just handed him the invoice, $340 for the replacement part. Nothing for labor on a Saturday. He'd delivered my nephew 3 years ago, never charged my sister the full amount. Some debts don't need money. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories reach. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe. New stories every day. I was washing my hands in their break room when Isabelle called. Where are you? Medical Center on Thomas. AC emergency. Silence. Then, sharp. Daniel, my father's funeral starts in 40 minutes. I looked at my reflection in the paper towel dispenser. Grease on my collar, oil stains spreading down my right sleeve. I'm leaving now. You can't come like that. Her voice dropped to the tone she used with clients who wanted to see properties above their budget. There will be investors, board members, the governor. I'll stop home and change. There's no time. Just... She paused. I heard voices behind her, the catered murmur of wealth. Just come to the service entrance. I'll find you something. She hung up before I could answer. The drive from Scottsdale to Paradise Valley took 22 minutes. Raymond Drummond's estate sprawled across 60 acres of desert that had been in his family since 1968. Saguaros older than me lined the private road. The main house rose like a Pueblo palace, all adobe and glass and money that whispered instead of shouted. Cars filled the circular drive. Mercedes, Teslas, a Bentley the color of champagne. I parked my Ford F-150 behind the catering trucks, next to dumpsters that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. The service entrance door was unlocked. Inside, staff moved through industrial kitchens with the practiced silence of people paid to be invisible. A woman in black directed me through a hallway I'd never seen in 7 years of marriage. Isabelle met me near the wine cellar. She wore Chanel. Black, severe, perfect. Her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. She took one look at me and closed her eyes. I tried to. I started. Don't. She opened her eyes. They were dry. Isabelle never cried in public. Stay in the back, near the patio doors. Don't speak to anyone unless they speak to you first. Don't mention work. Her gaze fixed on the oil stain. Definitely don't mention work. Isabelle. My father deserves dignity today, Daniel. Please. She turned and walked back toward voices and violin music. The kind that came with a string quartet, not speakers. I followed at a distance that felt like miles. The service was held in what Raymond called the Arizona Room. 30-foot ceilings, windows overlooking the McDowell Mountains, 200 guests in dark suits and designer grief. I stood near the patio doors as instructed, next to a palm tree in a pot that probably required permits. Claire Drummond gave the eulogy, Isabelle's older sister, COO of Drummond Hospitality Group. She spoke about vision, legacy, empire building, used words like titan and innovator. Never mentioned that Raymond grew up in a trailer in Tucson, that his father fixed cars for a living, that he'd built his first resort with a loan from a credit union. I knew because Raymond told me. 3 years ago, when I was fixing the irrigation system at the Drummond Resort Sedona, he'd sat on a deck chair for 2 hours, drinking iced tea, watching me work. Told me stories about his father teaching him to change oil, rebuild engines, understand that things need maintenance, not just ownership. You remind me of him, Raymond had said, as the sun set over red rocks. My old man, he never cut corners either. I'd thought it was just talk. Rich people sometimes got nostalgic around the help. The service ended. Guests moved to the terrace for what the program called a celebration of life. I stayed inside, watching through glass as waiters circulated with champagne and small plates of food I couldn't name. Isabelle stood with Claire and Uncle Foster, Raymond's brother-in-law. Foster was a lawyer, the kind who wore cufflinks and said summer as a verb. He touched Isabelle's shoulder, leaned close, whispered something. Isabelle's face stayed blank, but her hand tightened on her champagne flute until her knuckles went white. The man in the work shirt. I turned. A woman I didn't recognize stood beside me. 70, maybe. Elegant in the way people are when they've been rich so long they forget to try. She studied me like I was art she was considering for purchase. "Sorry? That's what Raymond called you. The last time we spoke. He said, 'I'm leaving everything to the man in the work shirt. The only one who never wanted anything from me.'" She smiled, but it looked sad. "I'm Adelaide Moss, Raymond's accountant for 32 years. My throat went dry. "I don't understand." "You will." She nodded toward the terrace. "Mr. Sheffield is about to read the will. Raymond insisted it be done today, at the funeral. Said he wanted to see their faces." She paused. "Well, you know what I mean." She walked away before I could respond. Mr. Sheffield was tall and gray and carried a leather folder, like it contained nuclear codes. He stepped to the center of the terrace. Conversations died. Claire moved to the front, Uncle Foster beside her. Isabelle stayed back, still gripping her champagne. "Raymond Drummond left specific instructions," Sheffield began. His voice carried without effort. "He recorded a video testament 3 weeks before his death. He was of sound mind and body, as verified by 2 physicians. He insisted this be shown now, in the presence of all beneficiaries." A screen lowered from the terrace ceiling. Someone dimmed the lights. Raymond appeared, thinner than I remembered, skin gray, but his eyes were clear, and when he spoke, his voice held the same authority I'd heard him use with contractors who tried to cheat him. "If you're watching this, I'm dead. Good. I've said what needs saying, and dead men can't be argued with." Nervous laughter from the crowd. Claire's face stayed stone. "I built Drummond Hospitality from nothing. Took 50 years. Made a lot of money. Lost some. Made more. Along the way, I learned something. Most people love money. Few people love work. Even fewer love doing work right." Raymond shifted in his chair. You could see the hospital gown collar under his shirt. 7 years ago, a man fixed my air conditioning at the Sedona Resort. Took him 3 days. Could have cut corners. Finished in 1. Could have charged triple. Did neither. When I asked why, he said, "Because it'll last longer this way." The camera zoomed slightly. Raymond looked directly into the lens. "That man is Daniel Rourke. He married my daughter Isabelle. He's worked on every property I own. Never charged fairly. Never asked favors. When I got sick, he paid $78,000 for my experimental treatment. Took his entire savings. I found out from his bank. He'd listed me as emergency beneficiary in case something happened to him during the clinical trial period." Someone gasped. I couldn't tell who. My vision had tunneled. He never told me. Never told Isabelle. Just did it. Like he does everything. Quietly. Right. Raymond leaned forward. "So I'm leaving everything to Daniel Rourke. The resorts, the properties, the accounts, the land. All of it. He's the only one who loved my daughter, not my money. The only one who knows the difference." The screen went dark. Nobody moved. Then Claire's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "This is insane." "He was manipulated." "There's more," Sheffield said. He opened the leather folder, removed an envelope. "Mr. Drummond left a personal letter. For Daniel." Everyone turned to look at me. I was still standing by the patio doors. Still wearing my work shirt with the oil stain. Still invisible. Except now I was the only person anyone could see. Isabelle's champagne flute hit the travertine. Glass everywhere. Sheffield walked across the terrace. His shoes made no sound on the travertine. 200 guests parted like water. He stopped 3 feet from where I stood and held out the envelope. Cream-colored paper. Raymond's initials embossed in navy. My name in his handwriting across the front. "Mr. Drummond requested you read this privately," Sheffield said. "There's an office inside. Second door on the left." I took the envelope. It weighed almost nothing. Claire's voice rose behind me. "This is a joke. My father was on morphine, clearly incapacitated. Dr. Chen and Dr. Patel both certified his competency," Sheffield said without turning. "The video was recorded at 10 a.m., 4 hours before his morning medication. He answered 30 standardized questions, passed every cognitive test." He paused. "He was very thorough, Ms. Drummond." I walked inside, found the office, closed the door. The room smelled like leather and old paper. Raymond's desk dominated the space, mesquite wood he'd salvaged from a demolished ranch in 1987. He told me that too, one afternoon while I was replacing the manifold on his pool system. I sat in his chair, opened the envelope. 2 pages, handwritten, dated 3 weeks and 2 days ago. Daniel, if you're reading this, Sheffield did his job and you're probably standing in a room full of people who hate you now. Sorry about that. Worth it. 7 years ago, I did something I'm not proud of. I tested you. The Sedona Resort. That contractor who offered you $15,000 cash to sign off on substandard work. The HVAC units that would have failed in 18 months. You refused. Told him you wouldn't put your name on something that would hurt people when the system died in July when it hit 110 degrees. That contractor worked for me. I hired him to make that offer. You passed. Claire failed the same test 3 years earlier. Different contractor, different project, same offer. She took the money. Cost me $340,000 in repairs and a lawsuit from a guest who had heat stroke when the AC failed. I never told her I knew. Just watched. Waited to see if she'd come clean. She never did. I've watched you for 7 years. The way you work, the way you treat people, the way you loved my daughter even when she was ashamed of you. The medical treatment money. I found out from Dr. Patel. He mentioned it at a fundraiser, thought I knew. You gave everything you had to buy me 6 more months. Never mentioned it. Never asked for thanks. Just showed up at the hospital every Tuesday with coffee and sat with Isabelle while I did chemo. My father was a mechanic in Tucson. Died with $147 in his bank account and a toolbox worth more than his car. He taught me that how you do anything is how you do everything. You're the first person I've met since him who lives that way. The resorts, the properties, the accounts, it's all real. It's yours. Sheffield has the paperwork. Everything's been transferred to irrevocable trusts with you as sole beneficiary. They can't contest it. I made sure. But here's what I really want you to have. The ranch. 60 acres on the edge of the McDowell Preserve. My father's toolbox is in the barn, and a choice. You can keep everything and become what they are, or you can use it to become what you already are, just with resources. I'm betting on the second one. Take care of my daughter if she'll let you. She was raised wrong. That's on me. But she's not broken, just bent. Raymond P.S. The saguaro by the east fence, the one with the broken arm. I planted that the day Isabelle was born. It survived. So can she. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. Through the office window, I could see the terrace. Claire stood with Uncle Foster and 3 people in expensive suits. Lawyers, probably. Her mouth moved rapidly. Foster's face was red. Isabelle was gone. I found Sheffield in the hallway. Where's my wife? Mrs. Rourke left approximately 12 minutes ago. She didn't say where. Did she take her car? I believe Miss Claire Drummond's driver took her. He adjusted his glasses. Mr. Rourke, I need you to come to my office Monday morning. 9 a.m. We have documents to sign. Title transfers, account access. Ms. Drummond has already indicated she'll be contesting the will. We need to secure everything quickly. Can she contest it? She can try. She won't succeed. Your father-in-law spent $340,000 on legal work to make this bulletproof. Sheffield's expression didn't change. But litigation is expensive and public. She knows that. It's a pressure tactic. I drove to our condo in Old Town Scottsdale. Isabelle's car wasn't there. I called her cell, straight to voicemail. Texted, "We need to talk." No response. Inside, the condo felt staged. Everything in its place. Cream and gray and neutral. Isabelle had hired a designer. I'd never understood why we needed someone to tell us where to put furniture, but I'd written the check. I sat on the couch we weren't supposed to sit on because it was decorative. Still had the tags underneath. $4,200 for something you couldn't use. My phone rang. Unknown number. Yes? Mr. Rourke, this is Adelaide Moss. We met at the service. I remember. I'm calling because Claire Drummond just contacted me. She wants access to the corporate accounts. I told her the passwords changed this morning per Raymond's instructions. She became. Adelaide paused. Agitated. She threatened you. Not directly. She mentioned that I'm 73 and retirement age. Suggested I might want to reconsider my loyalties before making enemies. Her voice stayed level. I've been dealing with difficult people for 32 years, Mr. Rourke, but I wanted you to know what you're facing. Thank you. One more thing. The employee health insurance. It expires in 48 hours unless someone with account access renews it. That's 247 people across 6 properties. Raymond always renewed it himself, first week of the month. Claire knows this. I closed my eyes. She's going to let it lapse. I believe that's the strategy. Create a crisis, make you look incompetent, force you to sell to her at a discount to save the employees. Can you renew it? Not without account access. Only you have that now. Sheffield has the codes. I'll call him. Good. She paused. Raymond was right about you. She hung up before I could ask what she meant. I called Sheffield. He answered on the first ring. I need the account access codes. Now. Mr. Rourke, it's Saturday evening. My office. 247 people lose their health insurance in 48 hours if I don't renew it. Can you email me the codes? Silence. Then, I'll send them in 10 minutes. You'll need to set up dual authentication. I'll walk you through it. 20 minutes later, I had access to accounts I didn't know existed. The health insurance portal showed the policy expiring Monday at midnight. I clicked renew. $47,000 automatically debited. I stared at the confirmation screen. I just spent more money than I made in a year. Didn't feel real. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. You're in over your head. Sell to Claire for fair value and walk away. This is friendly advice. I deleted it. Another text. Different number. Isabelle is with family. She needs space. Don't contact her. I tried calling her again. Still voicemail. Tried her sister. Claire answered on the 4th ring. Put Isabelle on. She doesn't want to talk to you. Claire's voice could have cut glass. She's humiliated. You manipulated a dying man. I paid for his medical treatment. With his own money, probably. Some scheme you cooked up. With my savings. Every dollar I had. The bank records will show that. Silence. Put her on, I said again. She's resting. The doctor gave her something for anxiety. Your little performance today. It wasn't a performance. I didn't know about any of this. Of course you didn't. Her tone dripped contempt. You just happened to be the perfect son-in-law, happened to pay for treatment, happened to refuse that contractor's bribe. Oh yes, I know about that now. Very convenient that my father kept such detailed records of your virtue. He kept records of yours too. The line went quiet. What did you say? The test. Sedona. 3 years before mine. You took $15,000 and signed off on bad work. Cost him $340,000 and a lawsuit. He knew. I heard breathing. Then, you're a liar. Read the letter. He wrote it down. You forged. Sheffield has copies. Ask him. She hung up. I sat in the decorative living room until the sun set. The condo faced west. Light came through the blinds in stripes, turned everything orange, then red, then gray. My phone stayed silent. At 9:47 p.m., it finally rang. Isabelle, hi. Is it true? Her voice sounded hollow. The money for my father's treatment. Your savings, yes. Why didn't you tell me? Didn't seem important. Daniel. She laughed, but it sounded broken. $78,000 isn't important? He needed help. I had the money, that's all. Silence. I could hear traffic in the background. She wasn't at Claire's house, somewhere public. My sister says you manipulated him, set up some long con, that you've been playing us all for 7 years. Do you believe that? More silence. I don't know what I believe anymore, she finally said. I thought I knew you, thought I knew my father, thought I knew... Her voice broke. He left you everything. Everything, Daniel. Do you understand what that means? It means he trusted me. It means he didn't trust his own daughters. It means... She stopped. I can't do this right now. Where are you? It doesn't matter. Isabelle, I need time. Don't call me. Don't come looking for me. Just give me time. How much time? I don't know. The line went dead. I sat in the orange dark and thought about Raymond's letter. She's not broken, just bent. Outside, a coyote howled somewhere in the preserve. Another answered. Then silence. I moved to the ranch on Tuesday. Took 3 trips in my truck. Clothes, tools, a box of photos. Everything I owned fit in the bed with room left over. The condo lease was in Isabelle's name. I left my key on the kitchen counter next to a note. I'm at the ranch if you need me. She hadn't called since Saturday night. The ranch gate had a new code. Sheffield texted it to me Monday after we'd signed papers for 6 hours straight. Title transfers, trust documents, corporate resolutions. My signature on page after page until my hand cramped. You now control assets worth approximately $340 million, Sheffield had said, sliding the final folder across his desk. I strongly suggest you retain a financial advisor and possibly a bodyguard. A bodyguard? Ms. Drummond has hired Keller & Associates, private investigation firm. They specialize in contesting estates. He'd adjusted his glasses. They're very good at finding things that can be interpreted unfavorably. The gate opened. I drove up the long driveway. Palo Verde trees on both sides, their green bark bright against red dirt. Raymond had planted them himself in 1994. Told me that during the Sedona job. Said his father taught him that if you're going to own land, you need to put something living in it. The main house was dark. Adobe and timber. Solar panels on the roof. Raymond had built it in 2003, designed it himself. 4 bedrooms. I'd been inside twice. Once for Isabelle's 30th birthday. Once when Raymond asked me to check a breaker that kept tripping. I parked by the barn instead. Unlocked it with the key Sheffield had given me. The interior smelled like motor oil and hay. Raymond's truck sat in the first bay, a 1987 Ford F-250, immaculate, restored by hand. Tools hung on pegboards in perfect order. A workbench ran the length of the back wall. On the bench sat a toolbox. Old metal, green paint worn to bare steel in places, a name stenciled on top, Frank Drummond, Raymond's father. I opened it slowly. Inside, wrenches organized by size, screwdrivers with wooden handles smoothed by decades of use, a socket set in a leather roll, everything clean, functional, maintained. A folded paper rested on top of the socket set. I unfolded it. Raymond's handwriting. Daniel, if you found this, you chose the barn over the house. Good. My father died in 1991. Heart attack. He was under a Buick at the time, changing someone's oil for $40. The customer didn't even know his name. I kept his tools because they reminded me what work actually means. Not wealth, not status. Just doing something right because that's how you do it. The house has everything you need, but the barn has everything you'll want. There's a filing cabinet behind the paint cans, second drawer, files labeled by year. I documented everything, every test, every observation, every reason. You'll need it when they come for you. I found the filing cabinet exactly where he said. Moved the paint cans, opened the second drawer, folders, dozens of them. Years labeled on tabs, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I pulled 2018. The year I married Isabelle. Inside, printed emails, photos, receipts. A spreadsheet tracking every interaction Raymond had observed between me and Isabelle. Notes in the margins. June 3, 2018. Daniel repaired irrigation system at main house. Refused payment. Said, family doesn't charge family. Isabelle, embarrassed by this, told him not to mention it to guests. August 12, 2018. Birthday dinner for Isabelle. Daniel arrived with flowers, $14.99 from Safeway, per receipt found in trash. Isabelle made comment about gas station flowers to Claire. Daniel said nothing. October 1st, 2018. Daniel paid for new tires on Isabelle's Mercedes, $1,847. Did not tell her. She thought I paid for them. I did not correct her assumption. Page after page. 7 years of documentation. Raymond had watched everything, recorded every small humiliation, every silent sacrifice. Every time I'd been treated as less and accepted it without complaint. I sat on the barn floor and read until the light through the windows turned orange. The 2021 folder contained the medical treatment decision, printouts from the clinical trial website, my bank statements showing the $78,000 wire transfer, a letter from Dr. Patel confirming I'd listed Raymond as beneficiary with instructions to use the remaining trial funds for continued research if I died during treatment. I hadn't known Raymond knew. The 2022 folder had the contractor test. Photos of the substandard HVAC units. The offer letter with $15,000 typed at the bottom. My written refusal. Raymond's notes. Offered same test to Claire in 2019. She accepted. Cost. $340,000 repairs plus $75,000 settlement. Never apologized, never mentioned it. A sticky note attached. This is why. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Yes? Mr. Rourke, this is Marcus Keller. I'm a private investigator working for Claire Drummond. I'd like to ask you a few questions. I have nothing to say to you. I understand this is difficult. I'm just trying to establish a timeline. When did you first learn about Raymond Drummond's estate? Saturday. At the funeral. You expect me to believe you had no prior knowledge? I don't care what you believe. Mr. Rourke, I've reviewed your financial records. You paid $78,000 for experimental medical treatment in 2021. That's your entire savings. Then 2 years later, you're named sole beneficiary of a $340 million estate. That's quite a coincidence. He was my father-in-law. He needed help. Or you made a calculated investment. I hung up. Called Sheffield. He answered immediately. Keller just called me. Don't speak to him again, not without me present. He'll twist anything you say. Sheffield's voice stayed calm. He's already contacted your bank, your former employer, your sister. He's building a narrative. What kind of narrative? That you isolated Raymond, manipulated him during cancer treatment, took advantage of diminished capacity. It won't work. We have medical records proving competency, but it'll be expensive to defend. How expensive? Depends how far Claire wants to take it. Could be $200,000 in legal fees. Could be $2 million. I looked around the barn, at Frank Drummond's tools, at Raymond's truck, at the folders documenting 7 years of my life. Let her try. I spent the next 3 days alone at the ranch. Didn't turn on the TV, didn't check email, just worked. Fixed the fence line on the east boundary. The posts were rotting. Took me 2 days to replace 40 feet. Dug holes by hand, set posts in concrete, stretched new wire. The saguaro with the broken arm stood 10 feet from where I worked. 44 years old. Raymond had planted it the day Isabelle was born. The broken arm hung at an angle, dead wood held up by living cactus, but the main trunk was strong. New growth at the top. She's not broken. Just bent. On Friday, Adelaide called. I'm emailing you the Q2 financial reports. You need to review them. The accountants have questions about capital expenditures for the Sedona property. I don't know anything about capital expenditures. You'll learn. Raymond did. He started as a maintenance worker at a resort in Tucson, worked his way up. Took him 15 years to understand balance sheets. She paused. You have something he didn't have at the start. What? Integrity. People will help you if you're honest about what you don't know. Claire won't. Claire is terrified. She spent 20 years working for her father. Built her identity around being COO. Now she's nothing. That makes her dangerous. But it also makes her desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. I spent Friday night reading financial reports I barely understood. Revenue, EBITDA, depreciation. Words that meant money, but felt like a foreign language. Saturday morning, I drove to the Scottsdale Resort, the flagship property, where I'd first met Raymond 7 years ago, where he'd watched me work for 3 days, fixing an AC system that should have taken one. The lobby was full, guests checking in, families with kids, couples on vacation. Everyone looked happy, relaxed. They had no idea the man who owned the place didn't know what EBITDA stood for. I found the maintenance office in the basement. 3 techs were inside. They stopped talking when I walked in. You're the new owner. The oldest one, Miguel, his name tag said, didn't make it a question. Yeah. You're the HVAC guy, I remember you. Sedona job, 2018. That's right. He studied me. You planning to change things? No, you do good work. Keep doing it. What about Claire? She's been calling. Says the ownership change is temporary, that she's contesting. Let her contest. Sheffield says she'll lose. Miguel nodded slowly. Your father-in-law was a good man. Paid fair. Didn't cut corners. Treated maintenance like we mattered. I know. You treat us the same. We'll work for you. You treat us like Claire does. Like we're janitors who should be grateful. We'll quit. Noted. I spent 4 hours walking the property. Talked to housekeeping, front desk, kitchen staff. Listened more than I spoke. Learned 247 people's livelihoods depended on what I decided to do with an empire I didn't ask for. Drove back to the ranch at sunset. The gate code had been changed. I tried the old one 3 times. Nothing. Called Sheffield. Someone changed the ranch gate code. That's impossible. Only you have access to the security system. Well, someone changed it. Silence. Then, I'll call the security company. Stay there. 20 minutes later, Sheffield called back. The code was changed at 2:47 p.m. from an administrator account. Claire's account. She still had access from when Raymond was alive. I've locked her out now. New code is 8147. I'm having the entire system reset. How did she? She's looking for leverage. Breaking in is a crime, but changing a code using legitimate access is gray area. She's testing boundaries. I punched in 8147. The gate opened, drove up to the house. Lights were on inside. I hadn't left them on. I parked, walked to the front door, unlocked it carefully. The living room was empty, but someone had been here. Papers on Raymond's desk were moved. The filing cabinet in his office, open. Folders out of order. I checked every room. No one there. But drawers were ajar, closets disturbed. Someone had searched the place. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. You have 2 weeks to make an offer. After that, this gets ugly. I texted back, come get ugly. Deleted the message, locked every door, checked every window. Then I went to the barn and brought Frank Drummond's toolbox inside. Set it on the kitchen counter where I could see it. If Raymond's father could work under cars for $40 a day and die with dignity, I could survive whatever Claire Drummond threw at me. Outside, a coyote called. No answer this time. Oh. Just silence and darkness, and 60 acres that were mine now, whether I wanted them or not. Monday morning, I called Adelaide. I need a forensic accountant, someone who can audit the resorts without Claire knowing. Why? Because she's desperate. Desperate people steal. Silence. Then, I'll make a call. 2 hours later, I met Dr. Lisa Chen in a coffee shop on Camelback Road. She was 40 maybe. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. Ordered black coffee and got straight to it. Adelaide says you suspect embezzlement. I suspect someone who's being cut out of a $340 million estate didn't go quietly. Smart. She pulled out a tablet. I'll need access to all accounts. Corporate cards, vendor contracts, payroll, everything. How long? Depends what I find. If she's smart, months. If she's arrogant, 2 weeks. She looked at me over her coffee. Adelaide says you're honest, are you? Yes. Good. Because if I find something on you, I report it. I don't care who's paying me. Find whatever's there. She left. I sat in the coffee shop and watched people order complicated drinks with names I didn't know. Oat milk, cold foam, upside down something. Everyone seemed to understand a language I'd never learned. My phone rang. Sheffield. Claire filed a petition. Claims Raymond lacked testamentary capacity. Wants everything frozen pending psychiatric review of his medical records. Can she do that? She can file. Judge will deny it. We have 2 doctors who will testify he was competent. But it buys her time and costs you money. He paused. This is the strategy. Death by 1,000 cuts. Legal fees, delays, public spectacle. She's betting you'll settle. I won't. Then prepare to write large checks to lawyers, including me. Wednesday, Dr. Chen called. Found something. Can you meet? We met at her office in Tempe. She had printouts spread across a conference table, numbers highlighted in yellow, red, green. Drummond Hospitality pays a company called Summit Maintenance Solutions $87,000 monthly for resort upkeep. Has for 3 years. That's $3 and $1 million total. Okay. Summit Maintenance Solutions is a shell company, registered in Delaware. Owner listed as SM Holdings LLC, which is owned by another shell, which is owned, she slid a paper across, by a trust. Beneficiary, Claire Elizabeth Drummond. I stared at the paper. She's paying herself through 6 layers of corporate structure. Very sophisticated. She probably thought your father-in-law wouldn't notice because he trusted her with operations. How much total? $3. $1 million over 3 years. But here's the interesting part. She pulled up another document. The actual maintenance work, subcontracted to legitimate companies for roughly $32,000 monthly. She's pocketing $55,000 a month $660,000 annually. I did the math. That's embezzlement, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. Take your pick, as she sat back. She's also been billing personal expenses to corporate cards, spa treatments, shopping, a $47,000 wine order for her home address. Total personal expenses charged to company, $287,000 over 2 years. You found this in 3 days. She wasn't hiding it well. She thought she was untouchable. Dr. Chen tapped the papers. The question is what you want to do with it. I thought about Raymond's letter. They can't contest it. I made sure. He'd known Claire would fight. Had documented everything so I'd have weapons when she came. Can you testify to this in court? Absolutely. I can also report it to the Arizona Attorney General's office. This crosses into criminal territory. Not yet. I need to handle this differently. How? I looked at the numbers. $3 million. Stolen slowly over years while Raymond was dying, while he was trusting his daughter to run his business honestly, quietly. Thursday, Sheffield drafted a resolution. Emergency board meeting. Called for Monday, November 14th at 9 a.m. Agenda: review of operational expenditures and management structure. The board consisted of 5 people: me, Claire, Uncle Foster, and 2 independent directors Raymond had appointed. Maria Santos and James Chen, no relation to Dr. Chen. Both were resort industry veterans. Both owed their positions to Raymond, not Claire. Friday morning, I drove to each board member's office personally, delivered sealed folders. Inside, Dr. Chen's report, highlighted sections, bank statements, corporate filings showing the shell company chain. Maria Santos opened hers while I stood in her office doorway. Oh my God. She looked up. Raymond knew about this? I don't think so. He was sick. Trusted her. What are you asking for? A vote to remove her as COO, terminate her employment, recover the funds through civil action. She'll fight. Let her. James Chen was harder. He'd worked with Claire for 8 years. Liked her, maybe, or thought he did. This is fraud. Yes. You could destroy her with this. Criminally. I could. But I'm giving the board a choice first. Clean house internally, or let the AG's office do it publicly. He studied me. Why? Because Raymond would want it handled with dignity, even now. You're a better man than I'd be. I'm just tired. Uncle Foster was last. He met me at the gate of his Paradise Valley estate. Didn't invite me in. I assume this is about Claire's petition. I handed him the folder. No, it's about $3 million she stole. His face went gray as he read. Took him 10 minutes. When he looked up, he seemed older. Jesus Christ. Board meeting Monday, 9 a.m. We're voting on her removal. Daniel, she's family. Can't we? No. If this goes public, then she shouldn't have stolen from her dying father. I turned to leave. Wait, his voice cracked. What do you want? I want a unanimous vote. I want her gone. And I want it done without police. That's more than she deserves. I drove back to the ranch. The sun was setting. Desert gold. The kind of light that makes everything look clean, even when it isn't. Inside, I made coffee. Sat at Raymond's desk. Looked at the saguaro through the window. The broken arm hung lower now. Maybe it would fall off eventually. Maybe it would heal around the damage. Either way, the cactus would survive. My phone rang. Isabelle. First time in 12 days. Hi. I heard about the board meeting. Her voice sounded thin, tired. Claire called me. Said you're accusing her of embezzlement. I'm not accusing, I'm stating. Forensic accountant confirmed it. Silence then. How much? Over $3 million, plus personal expenses on corporate cards. I heard her breathe. My father knew? I don't think so. She hid it well. But you found it. I hired someone who knew where to look. More silence. Wind on her end of the line. She was outside somewhere. She says you're doing this for revenge, that you're punishing her for contesting the will. I'm doing this because she committed fraud. Daniel, she stopped. This will destroy her. She destroyed herself. She's my sister, and she stole from your father while he was dying. What do you want me to do, Isabelle? Pretend it didn't happen. I want you to remember she's a person, not just an enemy. I am remembering she's a person. That's why I'm not calling the police. The line went quiet so long, I thought she'd hung up. Are you still there? Yeah. Her voice broke slightly. I'm here. Where are you? Does it matter? To me it does. I'm at a hotel in Phoenix. I've been thinking about how my father saw you, how he saw me, how he saw all of us. She paused. I found something in my old room at the estate, a letter he wrote me 3 years ago. Never sent it. It was in his desk. What did it say? That he was sorry for raising me to value the wrong things, for teaching me to be ashamed of honest work, for letting me treat you the way I did. I heard her crying now. He said loving you was the best thing I ever did, and being ashamed of you was the worst. I closed my eyes. Isabelle. He was right, Daniel. About everything. About you. About Claire. About me. She was crying harder now. I chose my family over you 1,000 times, and you never left. Why didn't you leave? Because I loved you. Past tense? I looked at the saguaro, at the broken arm still hanging on. I don't know what tense anymore. She cried quietly for a minute. Then, the board meeting. Monday. Yes. I'm coming. You don't have to. I'm coming. Not for Claire. For you. Someone from this family should stand with you when you do the right thing. Isabelle, I'm not looking for... I know. You never are. That's the whole problem. She took a shaky breath. I'll be there at 9. She hung up. I sat at the desk until the room went dark. Didn't turn on lights. Just watched the last gold fade from the sky and thought about bent things that might still straighten. Saturday, I worked on the fence. Sunday, I drove to each resort and walked the properties, talked to staff, learned names, listened to complaints about broken equipment, low wages, Claire's habit of cutting corners. At the Scottsdale property, Miguel pulled me aside. You're really going after her? Yes. Good. He looked around, lowered his voice. She fired my brother last year. He complained about faulty wiring in the spa building, said it was dangerous. She told him to stop causing problems or she'd have him deported. Miguel's jaw tightened. He's a citizen, born in Mesa, but she knew he looked Mexican and figured that was enough to scare him. Did he report it? To who? She was his boss. Your father-in-law was dying. So he quit, found work somewhere else. Miguel met my eyes. You take her down. You do it for every person she stepped on climbing her ladder. Monday morning, I put on my only suit. Navy blue. Bought for my wedding 7 years ago. Still fit, barely. Drove to Sheffield's office downtown. The board meeting was in his conference room. Neutral territory. I arrived at 8:45. Maria Santos was already there. James Chen came in at 8:50. Uncle Foster at 8:55, looking like he hadn't slept. Claire arrived at 8:59. Designer suit. Perfect hair. Confidence that would shatter in about 6 minutes. She saw me and smiled. Cold. Daniel, ready to embarrass yourself? We'll see. At 9 tucks, Sheffield called the meeting to order. At 9:06, I presented Dr. Chen's findings. At 9:14, Claire's lawyer tried to object. At 9:19, Maria Santos moved to terminate Claire's employment for cause. At 9:20, James Chen seconded. At 9:21, Uncle Foster voted yes, tears in his eyes. At 9:22, the motion passed 4-1. Claire's face went from confident to confused to destroyed in the span of a breath. You can't... This is... She looked around the table. Uncle Foster, you can't let him... You stole from your father, Foster said quietly. While he was dying, I can't defend that. She turned to me. You self-righteous. Security will escort you out, Sheffield said. You have 1 hour to collect personal items from your office. Corporate cards are canceled. Access to all accounts revoked. We'll be filing civil action to recover the embezzled funds. I'll bury you in court. You'll lose. Sheffield's voice stayed flat. And if you'd like, we can CC the Attorney General on the filings. Your choice. Claire stood, walked out, slammed the door hard enough that the portrait on the wall rattled. The room stayed silent. Maria Santos spoke first. That was necessary, but it wasn't easy. Thank you for not making it public. Yet, James Chen added. She'll make noise. Let her, I said. The meeting adjourned at 9:47. I walked outside into November sun. Hot even at this hour, desert heat that felt clean somehow. Isabelle was sitting on a bench across the street, white blouse, jeans, hair down. She looked younger than I'd seen her look in years. She stood when she saw me. We stared at each other across 4 lanes of traffic. Then she crossed, slowly, carefully, stopped 3 feet away. Is it done? Yes. How did she take it? Like someone who never thought consequences applied to her. Isabelle almost smiled. Almost. My father would be proud of you. I'm not sure I did it for him. Then who? I thought about Miguel's brother. About 247 employees who deserved honest management. About Raymond's father under a Buick changing oil for $40. People who can't fight back. She looked at me for a long time. I don't know if we can fix this. Us. I know. But I'd like to try. Why now? Because you just destroyed my sister's career and you're not celebrating. You're just tired and sad that it had to happen. She stepped closer. That's who you are. And I've spent 7 years being ashamed of exactly that. The coyote called somewhere in the distance. In the city. Middle of the day. Wrong time. Wrong place. But it called anyway. Isabelle followed me back to the ranch in her car. White Mercedes. The one I'd bought tires for in 2018. The one she'd thought her father paid for. We didn't speak on the drive. Just 50 minutes of highway, exit, desert road, gate code, gravel driveway. She parked next to my truck. Got out slowly. Looked at the house like she'd never seen it before. I've only been here twice. I know. My father built this in 2003. I was 15. He wanted us to spend weekends here. She walked toward the porch. My mother hated it. Said it was too far from civilization. Too rustic. She meant too poor-looking. It's not poor-looking. No, but it's honest. That was worse to her. Isabelle turned. Can we go inside? I unlocked the door. We walked into the living room. Adobe walls, timber beams. Furniture Raymond had picked himself. Comfortable, sturdy, built to last. Isabelle sat on the couch. I stayed standing. You want coffee? No, I want to talk. She looked at her hands. I found more than 1 letter. There were 7. 1 for each year you were married to me. He never sent any of them. Why not? Because he was a coward. His words, not mine. He wrote that in the last one. She pulled a folded paper from her purse. This one's dated 6 weeks before he died. Do you want to read it? Do you want me to? She held it out. I took it, sat in the chair across from her. Read, Isabelle, this is the 7th letter I've written you. I never sent the others because I thought I had time. Turns out I don't. I'm dying. You know this. What you don't know is that I'm ashamed. Not of dying. That happens to everyone. Ashamed of how I raised you. Your mother wanted you to marry money. I wanted you to marry character. You found character and I stood by while you treated him like he was nothing. Every birthday dinner where you apologized for his flowers. Every family gathering where you kept him away from investors like he was an embarrassment. Every time he fixed something at the house and you told him not to mention it to guests. I watched. Documented it. Told myself I was gathering evidence for. What? I don't know. Maybe I thought you'd wake up. Maybe I thought he'd leave and I could say I told you so. Neither happened. He stayed. You didn't wake up. I got cancer, the experimental treatment, the $78,000. I didn't know until after. Dr. Patel mentioned it at a fundraiser. Thought I'd thank Daniel personally. I nearly collapsed. Your husband gave me everything he had and never told you. Never told me. Just did it. That's when I changed my will. Not to punish you. To wake you up. I'm leaving everything to Daniel because he's earned it in ways you can't buy or inherit. And because maybe, losing everything will teach you what having everything never did. How to value a man who values you more than money. I don't know if you'll forgive me. Don't know if you should. But I'm betting on Daniel. He's the best thing you ever did. Even if you did it for the wrong reasons. Love him. Or let him go. But stop wasting the gift. Dad. I folded the letter, handed it back. Isabelle was crying silently. Tears running down her face without sound. He was right, she said, about all of it. Isabelle, no, let me say this. She wiped her eyes. I married you because my father liked you, because you were safe, because... She stopped. breathed. Because some part of me knew you'd never hurt me the way men in my world hurt women. You'd just endure. That's not love. I know, but I didn't know then. She looked at me. When did you realize I was ashamed of you? I thought about it, really thought. The engagement party. Your mother introduced me to her friends as the man who fixed our air conditioning. You laughed. Everyone laughed. I went home that night and knew. Why did you stay? Because I thought I could earn it. Respect. Love. Whatever you were holding back. I thought if I worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, you'd see me. God, Daniel. Her voice broke. You earned it the day we met. I was just too broken to see it. We sat in silence. Outside, wind moved through the Palo Verde trees, the sound like water, like breathing. What do you want? I finally asked. I want to try again. Real this time. No more shame. No more hiding you from people who don't matter. She leaned forward. But I don't know if you want that. Don't know if I've destroyed it too completely. I don't know either. That's fair. She wiped her face. Can I ask what you need to know? I need to know if this is guilt or change, because guilt fades. I can't build on guilt. It's both. She met my eyes. I feel guilty. I should. But I also see things I didn't see before. The way staff at the resorts look at you. The way you knew every name, every complaint. The way you removed Claire without cruelty, even though she deserved it. Isabelle stood. You're who my father wished he'd been. That's why he left you everything. Not to punish me. To show me what I should have been looking at all along. My phone buzzed. Text from Adelaide. Check Instagram. Claire's making noise. I pulled up Instagram on my phone. Claire's account, 74,000 followers, mostly hospitality industry people and society types. Her latest post, from 30 minutes ago, heartbroken to share that I've been forced out of my father's company by someone who manipulated him during his final months. My family is devastated. The man who married my sister for money has stolen everything my father built. Please keep us in your thoughts during this difficult time. Justice for Raymond and family betrayal comments were already flooding in. Hundreds of them. This is horrible. Can you contest it? I always knew something was off about him. Your poor family. Sending prayers. I showed Isabelle. She read it. Her face went hard. She's lying. I know. This will go viral. She has connections, influencers, media contacts. Isabelle looked at me. She's trying to destroy you publicly because she lost privately. Let her try. Daniel, you don't understand. This is what she does. Narrative control. By tomorrow, you'll be the villain in a story everyone believes. Then what do you suggest? Isabelle took my phone, started typing. I'm commenting from my account. She held up the screen so I could read what she'd written. This is a lie. Our father left his estate to Daniel because Daniel earned it through years of integrity and sacrifice. Claire was removed from the company for embezzlement. 3M Plus stolen through shell companies while our father was dying. Stop rewriting history to avoid consequences. Don't post that, I said. Why not? Because she's your sister. This will end your relationship permanently. It ended when she stole from our dying father. Isabelle's finger hovered over the post button. Someone needs to tell the truth. If not me, who? Isabelle. She posted it. The comment appeared under Claire's post. Within seconds, replies started. Wait, embezzlement? Isabelle, are you serious right now? This family is a mess. Isabelle put the phone down. There, now it's public. Now she can't control the narrative. You just burned that bridge. Good. It was a rotten bridge anyway. She looked at me. I'm choosing you. Publicly. Permanently. That's what you needed to know, right? If this was real? I didn't know what to say. My phone rang. Sheffield. Claire's attorney just called. They're threatening to sue for defamation. Both you and Isabelle. For what? The embezzlement is documented. They're claiming you fabricated evidence. That Dr. Chen is biased. That the board meeting was illegitimate. He paused. It's noise. They won't win, but it'll be expensive in public. How expensive? For the defamation defense, $400,000, maybe more, plus the ongoing estate litigation. You're looking at $1. $5 million in legal fees before this is over. I looked at Isabelle. She was watching me. Do it. Defend everything. You're sure? I'm sure. Sheffield hung up. Isabelle stood, walked to the window, looked out at the saguaro with the broken arm. My father planted that the day I was born. I know. The arm broke in a monsoon, 2009 I think. He wanted to cut it off. A gardener told him to leave it. Said the cactus would decide what to keep and what to let die. She touched the glass. It's still hanging on. Barely. But it's trying. She turned. That's us. Still hanging on. Barely. But trying. Isabelle, trying isn't enough. I know, so I'm not just trying. I'm changing. She walked back to me. I'm moving out of the hotel. Not back to the condo. Here, if you'll have me. Here? The ranch, where my father wanted us. Where there's no designer furniture or society expectations or any of the bullshit that made me into someone you couldn't love. She stopped. I don't know if you can forgive me. Don't know if I can become who you need. But I want to try in a place where the only thing that matters is whether I'm worth keeping around. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the woman I'd married 7 years ago. Saw the woman she'd been raised to be. Saw something else underneath. Something bent but not broken. No promises, I said. No promises, she agreed. You do your own laundry. Done. You learn the business. Not as my wife, as an employee, okay? And if this doesn't work, if you can't unlearn what your mother taught you, you leave. No drama, no lawyers. Just leave. She nodded. Deal. Outside, the wind picked up. Desert wind that smelled like creosote and dust and rain that might never come. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Adelaide. Claire's post now has 8,000 shares. Your comment has 12,000 likes. People are asking questions. This could go either way. I showed Isabelle. Let it go whatever way it goes, she said. We know the truth. The board knows. The Attorney General will know soon enough. Social media doesn't matter. It matters to your sister. My sister chose her weapon. Now she has to live with it. Isabelle picked up her purse. I'm going to get my things from the hotel. I'll be back by dinner. Isabelle. She stopped at the door. This doesn't fix everything. I know. But it's a start. She almost smiled. My father spent $340 million betting you're worth it. I'm betting the same thing. Just with lower stakes and better reasons. She left. I stood in the living room of a house I'd never expected to own and thought about bent things learning to grow straight. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Rourke, this is Marcus Keller. I'm calling to inform you that I'm terminating my investigation. Why? Because I found what I was looking for. You're exactly what you appear to be. Honest. Annoyingly honest. He paused. For what it's worth, Claire Drummond is the most entitled client I've ever had. I hope you bury her. I'm not trying to bury anyone. I know. That's why you'll win. He hung up. I walked outside. The sun was setting. Gold light on red dirt. The saguaro's shadow stretched across the ground, broken arm and all. I stood there until the light faded and thought about Raymond's letter. Love her or let her go. But stop wasting the gift. Maybe we'd wasted enough. Maybe it was time to see what we could build from the broken pieces. Or maybe we'd fail, and I'd end up alone in 60 acres of desert with $340 million I never wanted, and a cactus that refused to quit. Either way, I wasn't running. Not from this, not anymore. 1 year later, I woke at 5:30 a.m. to the sound of coyotes finishing their night hunt. November again. Desert cold that burned off by noon. Isabelle was already awake. I could hear water running in the kitchen, coffee brewing. She'd learned to make it the way I liked it, strong enough to taste the work that went into growing it. I dressed, jeans, work shirt, boots that had cost $87 and lasted 3 years. Walked into the kitchen. She stood at the counter in running clothes, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked more like herself than she had in all 7 years I'd known her before. Morning. She poured 2 cups, handed me one. The contractor's coming at 7. Wants to show you the final plans for Building C. Which one's Building C? Electrical training. The one with the solar panel lab. She pulled up blueprints on her tablet. He's asking about the budget. Says we could cut $40,000 if we use standard panels instead of the teaching models. What do you think? I think we're building a training center, not a showcase. Students need to learn on equipment they'll actually use in the field. She zoomed in on a detail. Standard panels. Save the money for scholarships. I nodded. Tell him. She made a note. We drank coffee in silence, comfortable silence, the kind that takes time to build. Outside, the sky shifted from black to navy to pale blue. The saguaro by the east fence stood outlined against it. The broken arm had finally fallen off 8 months ago, just dropped one morning during a rainstorm. The cactus didn't seem to care. New growth was already filling in the gap. Claire's hearing is today, Isabelle said quietly. I know. Sheffield says she'll probably take the plea deal. Restitution plus 3 years probation. No jail time. That's generous. That's you not pushing for criminal prosecution. She looked at me. You could have destroyed her completely. Destroying her wouldn't have helped anyone. It would have been justice. Justice is her losing what she stole, not her losing her freedom. I set down my cup. She made choices. Now she lives with them. That's enough. Isabelle studied me. You're a strange man, Daniel Rourke. How so? Most people would want blood. You just want balance. Blood doesn't fix anything. It just makes a mess someone has to clean up. At 7:00, the contractor arrived. Tom Rodriguez, 45, ran his own company for 20 years. I'd hired him because his estimates were honest and his references checked out. Not because he gave the lowest bid. We walked the property. 60 acres divided now into 3 sections. The house and barn, the training center, 3 buildings arranged around a courtyard, and 40 acres of undeveloped desert left exactly as Raymond had kept it. Building A was finished. HVAC certification program, 6 classrooms, shop floor with working systems. Students could tear down and rebuild. We'd graduated our first class in August, 18 students. 17 got jobs within 3 weeks. The 18th started his own company. Building B was close. Plumbing, another 4 months maybe. Building C was framed but empty. Electrical, the most expensive program, the most needed. The solar lab adds $127,000 to the build, Tom said, pointing at the roof. But it also generates income. You could sell excess power back to the grid, pay for itself in 8 years. Do it, not for the income, for the teaching. He made notes. You're the easiest client I've ever had. You just want things done right. That's not easy. In this business, it's rare. He looked at me. Most people want things done fast or cheap. You want quality. That's why people talk about this place. What do they say? That the HVAC guy who inherited a fortune didn't buy a yacht. He built a school. Tom shook his head. Weird story. Good weird. He left at 8:30. I drove to the Scottsdale resort. I still spent 2 days a week at each property. Not managing, we'd hired real COO, Janet Werner, ex-Marriott, 20 years experience, but learning, understanding what Raymond had built and why it mattered. Miguel saw me in the parking lot. Boss, I'm not your boss. Janet is. Janet signs the checks. You own the place. That makes you the boss. He grinned. Semantics. How's your brother? Good. Working at that new hotel downtown, making $4 more an hour than he made here. Keeps telling me to quit and join him. Why don't you? Because you're not Claire. He said it simply, like that explained everything. Maybe it did. I spent 3 hours walking the property with Janet. She showed me occupancy reports, revenue projections, guest satisfaction scores. All numbers I was still learning to read. You're getting better at this, she said as we reviewed a budget variance report. I'm learning. Most owners would have hired someone and disappeared. You're here twice a week asking questions. I don't know how to own something without understanding it. That's why this works. She closed her laptop. We're up 14% year over year. Staff retention is the highest it's been in a decade. Guest reviews mention how well-maintained everything is. She paused. Raymond would be proud. I didn't know what to say to that. At lunch, I got a text from Sheffield. Claire accepted the plea. 3. 1M restitution paid over 10 years. 3 years probation. Public apology required as condition of no jail time. It's over. I read it twice, then put the phone away. Over. One word that meant a year of legal fees, depositions, negotiations, and finally Claire Drummond, standing in front of a judge admitting she'd stolen from her dying father's company. I didn't feel victorious. Didn't feel anything, except tired. Drove back to the ranch at 4. Isabelle's car was there. So was Adelaide's. I found them in the barn. Adelaide was looking at Frank Drummond's toolbox. Isabelle was showing her Raymond's truck. Daniel, Adelaide smiled. I was just telling Isabelle about the first time I met Raymond. 1992. He came to my office with a business plan written on notebook paper and $40,000 he'd saved working maintenance jobs. He told me that story, I said. He was terrified, convinced I'd laugh at him, but the plan was sound, conservative, realistic, so I helped him get a loan. She touched the truck's hood. 30 years later, he was worth $340 million. Never forgot where he started, never pretended to be something he wasn't. Why are you here? I asked, not rudely, just curious. Because I'm retiring, 65 years old. Time to let someone else count other people's money. She pulled an envelope from her purse. This is for you. Raymond left it with me. Instructions were to give it to you 1 year after his death if you were still running the company honestly. I took the envelope, opened it, a single page. Raymond's handwriting. Daniel, if you're reading this, you didn't sell, didn't run, didn't become what they are. I'm not surprised. The training center was my idea. I never told anyone. Too scared they'd think I was going soft. But I grew up poor, learned a trade, built a life. I wanted to give that chance to other people who started where I started. You're doing it better than I would have. You understand what it means to work with your hands, to be invisible, to be treated as less. Keep going. Not for me. For every kid who's been told they're not worth investing in because they don't have the right last name or the right connections. That's the real inheritance. Not money. Purpose. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Raymond. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope. Adelaide was watching me. He wrote that 3 days before he died. Called me from the hospital. Said he needed to tell you something in case you forgot. Forgot what? That you're worth more than you think. That the world needs people like you more than it needs another billionaire. She picked up her purse. He was right. She left. Isabelle and I stood in the barn as the light shifted to gold through the open doors. Are you okay? She asked. I don't know. Ask me tomorrow. Will you be more okay tomorrow? Probably not, but I'll keep working. That's what fixes things, not time. Work, she nodded. I have something to tell you. What? Janet offered me a position. Assistant Director of Operations. She says I'm good at the numbers, good at talking to people, good at seeing problems before they become crises. Are you taking it? I don't know. Depends. On what? On whether you think it's real. Whether I'm doing it because I've changed, or because I'm still trying to prove something. She looked at me. I can't tell anymore. I thought about it. Really thought. Watched the way she stood. Confident but not defensive. Tired but not broken. Take it, I said. Not for me. For you. You're sure? No, but neither are you. So we'll find out together. She smiled. Small, real. Okay. That night we made dinner. Simple food. Grilled chicken. Salad. Nothing fancy. We ate on the porch and watched the desert turn dark. Do you think about leaving? She asked. Just selling everything and going back to fixing air conditioners? Every day. Why don't you? Because 247 people have jobs. Because 18 kids learned a trade. Because Raymond bet everything that I wouldn't run. I set down my fork. And because sometimes the hard thing is the right thing, even when you hate it. Do you hate this? Parts of it. The lawyers, the board meetings, the decisions that affect people's lives. I looked at the saguaro. But I like the training center. Like watching people learn skills that'll feed their families. Like knowing Frank Drummond's toolbox is teaching another generation. That's very Raymond of you. Maybe that's the point. We cleaned up, went inside. Isabelle went to the office to review more blueprints. I went to the barn, opened Frank Drummond's toolbox, took out a wrench, just held it. Felt the weight, the balance, the worn handle that proved someone had used it enough to smooth the wood. My phone buzzed. Text from Miguel. My brother applied to the electrical program. Thanks for building it. I typed back. Tell him good luck. Put the phone away. Put the wrench back. Closed the toolbox. Walked outside. The desert was quiet. Stars everywhere. Cold air that smelled clean. A coyote called. Far off. Another answered. Then silence. I stood there and thought about inheritance. Not money, not property, not empire. Just the simple idea that work done right outlasts the person who did it. That Frank Drummond's tools still taught people what mattered. That Raymond's bet on honesty still paid dividends in lives changed. That maybe I was just another link in a chain of people who understood something the world kept forgetting. You are what you build, not what you buy. Inside, Isabelle was still working, learning, trying. We didn't know if it would work. Didn't know if we'd make it another year or 10 years or forever. But we were trying in a place where trying was all that mattered. The saguaro stood against the stars, broken arm gone, new growth filling the space. Still standing, still growing. That was enough.